is doing these days, chaired by my neighbor in Glen Cove, Kim Anders. And then we are going to hear from Andy Rittler about the LBJ Express project. Andy is a former Valley Ranch resident, so he knows exactly how important LBJ is to us. So let's start off with Kim.
If anybody wants to move in so you can see the...
You want to?
Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Kim Andres. I'm president of the Urban Flood Control District Board, District number 3, and it covers all of Valley Ranch. It's a really tough act to follow when all you have to talk about is rainwater, which we haven't seen much of lately, landing on the ground and finding its way into the Elm Fork of the Trinity River and out of Valley Ranch. But that's what we do. Okay, that is exactly what this district does, having been created in 1983, which means we're 30 years old. I guess like the associations, don't we all think about maybe celebrating a 30-year anniversary? The district was created by state law, okay, and initially had an appointed board of directors. Today, the city council reappoints members of the board of directors, which is 5 persons. I'm going to go ahead and get started on the slides. I'd first, though, like to introduce the board names of our board of directors. There's Chris Wallace, Chris Calvary, Mazhar Islamorada, and Bill Correa. And
Kim?
yes, can you hear me all right?
Shout a little.
Okay, I'll talk a little bit louder. I don't.
Or can someone turn on the, I think we've got a mic there.
Here.
If we can get that.
Okay, nobody can you not hear me all the way back there? Okay, I'm going to speak way up.
We need sound.
If we can get a sound, that's
Can we
great.
turn on the sound?
I'd also like to introduce our public relations person who is with us here this evening, Blake Lewis. Blake, would you put your hand up, please? Okay, very good. All right, moving through our presentation, I'm going to repeat several things I've said last year, but really move on from there, because every year we start a new round of projects as things happen in our system of canals, sumps, the pump station, and so forth, and as improvements continue to go on in Valley Ranch.
We have technical difficulties with sound.
All right, so this is why we exist. Again, it seems so boring. The water comes down, it hits the streets, it's got to flow somewhere, and in 1983, the district was formed to build the projects that you now see. We're pretty well built out. Canals are in place, sumps, and what we now do is take care of maintaining those facilities. There's always slopes that slough off, damage to the water, to the walls that surround the canals, things like that. And I'll get into some heavy-duty improvements that we made to the pump station in just a little bit. So, again, we've already said this, we are 5.5 miles of waterways. We're the only area in the entire Metroplex with that type of facility, other than our Las Colinas area. Dallas County Utility and Reclamation District, DCURD, operates a similar system of canals in Las Colinas, and they are our main operations company. We contract with them. They're the experts in Las Colinas, and they provide the same level of expertise to Valley Ranch. The pump station is monitored and managed remotely during normal operations, meaning there's no rainfall or there's just a very light rainfall. Again, the DCURD staff, who have their building, their offices are near the Omni and the post office station there in Las Colinas Boulevard. They have a few dedicated persons to our pump station, specifically Dallas and Bill are dedicated to our station out here, our pump station. During a rain event, they actually come out and staff, and they do weekly levee inspections. Now the levee, as you all know, of course, is that great big mound that runs a big ribbon around Valley Ranch. It's about 3 miles long, and it makes an arc and a curve. That has to be maintained very carefully, believe it or not, it looks like, well, it's just a big pile of dirt with grass on it. But in fact, it's real important that it get looked at because the hogs go up there and they root into it. And any sloping can jeopardize our permit with the Federal Emergency Management Association, FEMA, who has permitted our levee. They come around and inspect, and the darn thing better be properly mowed and not be full of, say, hog tracks and other sorts of things. The DCURD and the board of directors oversees this, looks at the maintenance of all the pump station facilities, and I mentioned Dallas County Utility District. The pump station, at the pump station, beginning in 2010, we did a study of the pump station. And as you know, you all know where it's located, near the high school, and it's a building out there kind of up against the bluff of the hill. It has 6 pumps in it. That was done at inception as the maximum number of pumps we could conceivably need in the worst rainfall event imaginable. But in 2010, we went in and looked at the rest of the equipment that surrounds those pumps and found a lot of deficiencies in what was out there. Yet we had the bond fund money for a better facility, for those pieces that were missing or less than they could be, to make the pump station, put it at its maximum, that we had all issued bonds for. So we went about studying what could be done to bring the pump station up to its maximum safety level, pumping capacity, redundancy. The pump station is served by electricity. What if the electricity went off in the substation of Encore that fed our facility? We were in a heap of trouble. When I first joined the board, there was this plan to call some number and get an emergency generator in if it could get in, and if it wasn't already committed to somebody else. I mean, it was just not right. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I find this absolutely fascinating. We had 6 pumps. We had 1 transformer that had a capacity called 1,500 whatever, that didn't serve but 4 pumps at once. And if you actually had to run all 6, you would blow the transformer. Not a good thing. When you blow the transformer, you're calling Encore, and they're going, well, where's your emergency generator, the other power source? Well, we don't. So our study went in and found that we needed actually 2 transformers, not just 1. We needed to double that 1,500 to 3,000, and each transformer had to have a separate substation feeding it so as to have true backup power on the electrical side. In the last 2 years, we have put that into effect. We have acquired the transformers, we have redone the switching necessary, dug the necessary tunnels, and put the equipment in place to get us to the 2 transformers with, again, different serviced substations. Terrific. Okay, that's good. Phase 2, which we are starting in on this year and next year, and we have the money for all of this, by the way. As I said earlier, there was actually a lot of money from bond sales sitting there, untouched, while the facility really wasn't up to its maximum. So anyway, looking at some of the other remaining bond money, we've gone in and we're starting what is called the Phase 2, which is the generator backup power source. That entails purchasing the right size of equipment and finding where to locate it, fencing it to protect it, and the entire time having a very good security system on the premises, which is something I'll get into in a minute as well. Recently, we discovered that when we did the study in 2010, it wasn't real clear that we would need to replace what is called the MCCs, which is a word for the motor control center, another piece of equipment that faces into the transformers and the power at the station. In looking at that issue further, we discovered that the capacity of the existing motor control center to handle what would be called the fault current, which would come in from both Encore and the feed, and the motors themselves generated, would be exceeding what we had capacity for in those MCCs. So we're going to replace them as well. That's an additional $500,000 project, that a piece of equipment that will go in along with the generators, Phase 2. which again is 2013 and 2014. We had a board meeting at the pump station itself in December. We watched while the D-Curd folks turned on a pump, watched it work, watched the water go over the sluice gate, and that was very interesting. And we saw the new equipment in place. We saw where the next phase of equipment will go in. And so I think that was just a really good board meeting to be out there on the premises. Okay, moving right along, the next slide. Okay, other things that we did, we're constantly moving around the Valley Ranch, and you'll see our trucks. They have a label on the side, that's D-Curd, masquerading as the Flood Control District number 3, and they put that on their trucks. They go around, we pick up a lot of trash out of the canals. It's amazing what goes into the canal. Recently, an old couch went into the canal over by the Waterford Apartments. I think I got the right place. Not a good thing. In the still of the night, a couch appeared in the, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's usually the plastic cups and things like that. And they're out there almost every day. There's a huge trash pickup. I mean, anytime there's a rain event, it's especially bad. We also go ahead and grade slopes to the retaining walls. Now, this is a Ledbetter sump facility. Is that everyone familiar where that is? It's on MacArthur. It's, how do I describe this?
It's in the lakes.
Thank you. Okay, right. Well, yes, and I'm not sure if is it in the lakes? Is that what it is?
It's right there at the
Okay.
Avenue of the Champions.
Yep, that's it. And we have been slowly making the wall match as it goes around for aesthetics. So there's not only the needed engineering fix, but there's also an aesthetic value going in there. We have 400 more linear feet to cover this year. That project that's what we did this year, I'm sorry. We had previously done a larger number of feet. Okay, moving on, and then we have the sump. The sump itself, of course, we all weeded up. There's the bridge that leads to Campion Park over the sump facility. It doesn't look great over there on the after. It's all brown, but that will seed and take root. It'll be nice and green. The point is you get rid of the weeds, and we plant plants that are proper for aquatic environment, and they hold the soil. And they're natural Texas plants. We've been doing that project now for a couple of years. Electric power, I already described this. We went in and did all these upgrades. And the final component of confidence is that generator. Again, getting completely out of electricity. We are, however, I will tell you this is good news, from an Encore perspective, our power source, we are like a hospital or any other emergency facility. If we call them, we're on their hotline, they'll come out and fix us first in a rain event, which is threatening to Valley Ranch. So that's good. Here's how we spend our money, and here's where our money comes from. It comes from taxes entirely, if not, just essentially taxes. And this year we collected 98.6% of the tax levy. It's incredible. People pay their taxes. It's a good thing. It's probably a first lien on your property, so you really have to pay it. We're a portion of your county tax. You don't see a tax statement coming straight from the Flood Control District. It's buried in the lines on that county tax statement. We spend our money, a lot of it is on the maintenance. Literally, the weekly levee walk and the mowing, coming out to the pump station in a rain event, and just all sorts of repairs. Again, the waterways need looking at, and wall repairs and the like. Now, for many years, we had a tax rate of 27.4 cents. All those years, you see 2008 through 2010 and 11. And then finally, in 2011, for that tax year, we had paid off all but a tiny portion of our bonds. So we were able to drop that part of the tax rate that goes to retire bonds. And we're sitting now at a maintenance rate. 13.4 cents was the first precipitous drop. So you probably saw that. That made a difference in your taxes. It equated to a fairly substantial number. This past year, in looking very at the fine line of maintenance costs, we raised the rate by 1/2 of 1 cent. 1/2 of a penny per $100 equates to, on a $200,000 house, $10. So your tax rate went up $10 on that $200,000 house in that 1 year. We're hoping we don't have to raise it, and we won't have to raise it significantly more, but it'll bump up and down at about that same rate as we move into what is our maintenance phase. Okay, for more information, visit the website. We're on Facebook. There's Twitter. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
If we see people bebopping around on top of the levees, and we know they're not supposed to be up there, who do we call?
Walkers are okay. It's motor vehicles.
That's what
Yeah.
I was referring to,
Yeah.
scooters and...
Oh, that good, yeah. On the website, we have a phone number to Decurd.
Okay.
Yep, that's not good. Not good. We don't want that.
What about fishing?
Same thing. Fishing is an interesting issue. We talked about fishing Monday night at our board meeting. We've been talking about it for some time. The city, the Valley Ranch Associations, and the police are all have a little piece of the fishing issue. The problem is that, and we've identified, you mentioned it, Mark, thank you. We've identified one canal area where apparently there's a lot of fishing going on. And for us, it's not good. I mean, apart from the question of why or what are you doing with what you catch, that's entirely up to those who do, but it's unsightly and it's dangerous. We don't want people falling into the canal, jumping into the canal, and it can wear spots. If you do a lot of it, it could conceivably wear the soil down. You're talking about the very thing that we have to constantly watch for, which is soil erosion. I do have a picture. There is a canal area we've identified as having more, quote, fishing than other areas, even though it didn't seem logical to me. But we have an area right here which we could conceivably post no fishing signs. This is, okay, let's see. Here we are with MacArthur,
Can you point
right?
it out on the map behind
You're
you?
right here. Yeah, oh, okay, I'll show you right here. It is, here's MacArthur.
We're down low.
Right here. Saddlehorn. Right there. Which I've never seen it myself, but then I'm over here and on MacArthur and not really looking over here. Right now we're over here somewhere, right? So it's right there. So one thought is that we would post signs because unless you do, you really don't have an enforcement mechanism. It has to be a sign that warns people no trespassing over this line, including no fishing. And when they step over the line, then conceivably, the flood control district could ask the police to intervene, a Class C misdemeanor if you're intentionally violating that rule. The city has expressed a willingness also to come in if it becomes a real problem and help us with some code enforcement aspects of that. Just a couple other things. We have a website maintained, I think, very well. We do as much newsletter and sponsorship as we can, that is to say, relevant sponsorship. We did contribute $1,000. Did you notice the dessert table if you all went to the Las Vegas night?
yeah.
Wasn't that something? There's our sign. We gave $1,000 for that. We have a small budget of discretionary items to help the community. We're very willing to help the community in any way we can. Thank you very much. Unless there are more questions.